Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with another Greedfall news update. Today we are covering a dev blog post about combat that's on the Focus Home Interactive website, Focus Home Interactive being the publishers of Greedfall, and they are known for publishing a bunch of wonderful little games like A Plague Tale: Innocence this year, and also one of my favorite games of this generation, 2018's Vampire, which is also apparently coming to Switch this year. So if you have yet to play that game, put your eyes on it. But the reason I'm covering this is even though it's a 3-day-old post, I saw it only had 1.1k views, and I saw even on the Greedfall Reddit, it didn't gain that much traction. And given the fact that the Greedfall videos have been doing really well on the channel, I want to continue to prop this game up and give it support because I really like what I'm seeing from the developers here. So what we're going to be learning today is a lot about the combat, a little bit more flexibility in the systems than I think a lot of us originally imagined based off some of the trailers and stuff we were seeing in the gameplay. So let's go through all of it and we'll dissect it piece by piece. The skill tree is divided into 3 main parts. The warrior tree allows you to use all one-handed and two-handed melee weapons while also raising your resistance to physical damage. You are never locked into a path once you invest in it, and you are free to switch from one discipline to the other as you wish. Eager to focus on fire weapons, grenades, or creating traps and blade coatings, the technical tree is the right one for you. Fantasy aficionados will enjoy the magic tree, granting access to spells such as healing or stasis, a spell that briefly locks enemies in time, and the magical rings for ranged combat. The skill tree is open, meaning that it enables you to truly choose what kind of combat you want to specialize in. If you are fond of both melee weapons and magic, you can decide what to upgrade in your skill tree and end up with a protagonist able to juggle between magic rings and melee weapons. Alternatively, you can choose to specialize in only one type of weapon or even focus on the sciences to get better brews, potions, explosives, and traps. So a lot to unpack in that initial reading, I believe, because it seems like Greedfall is a little more open combat-wise than we expected. It doesn't seem to be locking you into a specific role despite some of the starting classes. I think the classes are there to give you an edge in a certain area, and obviously as the second paragraph encourages that maybe you do focus on just one thing because then you can create better stuff if you put all your focus into that part of the skill tree, but you can be a jack of all trades, so to speak. Now, I thought the idea of being able to coat your blade in different stuff was actually really cool for the technical tree, and that one's starting to really catch my eye. I like the idea of creating traps, grenades, and being all gadgetry based, but at the same time, the magic in this game just looks too sick to pass up, so I keep bouncing between both of them. But anyway, I think the most important mechanic here to emphasize is the openness of Greedfall, for better or for worse, because I always think of Skyrim when I think of open combat systems where you can instantly be good at anything, so long as this game has little perks and stuff that really lock in your decisions where you can't be amazing at everything, but you gradually start to see your choices whittle down and you dedicate yourself to a play style, then I can appreciate a system that's open so you can at least learn what you like and then dedicate to that. During combat, you will have access to 2 sets of weapons which you can freely switch between. A wide range of equipment and weapons will be available, and through crafting you'll be able to further customize and enhance your gear to not only change their looks but also their stats. This is something we saw in the trailer, and I even broke it down in a follow-up video, but more importantly is that you'll have access to 2 sets of weapons. Now, I think this is important to note because I also mentioned in the 6 things that make Greedfall unique from other RPGs that there is an armor system where you have to gradually break down the armor of your foes, and having 2 sets of weapons perhaps allows you to target different weaknesses for enemies. Perhaps one allows you to do more damage to an enemy if they are on arms versus one that has armor on and you can destroy their armor easily. I think that type of switching could be useful, or as they mentioned earlier, switching between melee weapons and magical rings. So if you need ranged combat, you're set for that, and if you need close quarters combat, you're set for that. Once again, as I mentioned originally, it does remind me of Kingdoms of Amalur, where there was the chakrams, which allowed you to sling these melee based weapons from an extremely long distance, but then you can get up close and personal with like a battle shield or something like that. So I really like where this game's heading in its flexibility in combat. I just hope the systems encourage a certain play style along the road. Attributes raise passive stats and enable you to use better equipment and more powerful weapons. This enables you to re-specialize several times in order to mix up fighting styles and try different approaches to combat in the same playthrough. Greedfall encourages you to use your own personal approach to combat thanks to customized equipment and the optional tactical pause. Now, I found this strange because they're saying the attributes, which you get when you level up, raise passive stats, and as I mentioned in a previous video, enables you to use better equipment, such as, for example, having a certain agility level so that you can use certain one-handed blades. But then it says this enables you to re-specialize several times in order to mix up fighting styles and try different approaches to combat in the same playthrough. So do you get a ton of attribute points per leveling up, and therefore you have access to all different paths of combat? If so, I'm less of a fan of this choice, because once again, what this game was really selling itself on was being a true RPG and stuff where you can really start to lock in your playstyle and dedicate down a certain path. I understand the want to be open, the desire to be open, because when you start to lock down stuff, you may just lose a couple of players along the way, people who don't want to go through the game one more time to try something else differently. I know all of our times are limited, so in the scheme of things, while there are a lot of folks who like to replay things a ton, I believe there's also even more so who just do one playthrough and they're done, so they want you to see everything or as much as possible in that one playthrough. Lastly is companions. You can't control your companions during combat in Greedfall, but you will be able to compose a team to complement your own fighting style and approach it in combat. Every companion brings something different to the table and has their own archetypal combat style, along with a unique opening move and special attack. Companions will also advise you when you're in danger or running out of mana. As you level up, you'll be able to switch out your companion's weapons, allowing you to further tailor your team to your needs. Make sure to have healing potions handy in case one of them falls in combat. Choosing your companion is a crucial part of combat, but also the story. Consider your companion's loyalties and faction before charging them into battle. Since they may not always agree with your actions, you'll be able to anticipate events more and have options to resolve conflicts if your team actively supports you. So I like this a lot, that you have to really consider who's with you, and if you charge into a battle with a certain faction that maybe your companion's allied with, they're probably not going to like that, and that can either diminish your relationship entirely, or maybe they'll betray you right on the spot given how serious the choice is in that moment during the story. And I think that's really important to emphasize, because it makes it a lot more of a character-driven tale too, and that the companions around you are not just little pieces of the combat system and they're folks you can talk to, but actual living, breathing human. When it comes to companions in combat though, that is brand new details, that we can have a unique opening move and a special attack for them. Now, they say that the companions will also advise us when we're in danger or we're running out of mana, and I got this brutal flashback to Dragon's Dogma, one of the more underrated games to come out last generation. I really like that game a lot, although anytime I've ever tried to go back to it, I cannot replay it. I don't know what's wrong with me, but it's still a great game. I still suggest it. But all the time, your companion's yelling something different in your ear, and it got really annoying. Or the JRPGs where they repeat the same dialogue line like 40 times. It's like, dude, if you just recorded like 10 more lines, just 10 more, which I know isn't super expensive. You just ask for the person who's in the booth for 10 more minutes of their time, and you get all these great lines. You can subtly improve the combat system a little bit more. So if I'm constantly hearing, out of mana, you're out of mana, like, oh man, combat can get really annoying really fast. Now, I do wonder, since you have to heal one of your companions if they were to fall in combat with a healing potion, how much that will take away or add to the experience, because let's say the companion's very crucial to doing damage, but suddenly they're a Donald Duck from Kingdom Hearts, and you really lean on them a little bit more than you have to usually in any other combat system. Can that be detrimental to overall the combat in the game? That stuff we'll just have to wait and see as we get our hands on the full game. Overall, this dev blog post on combat left me a little milquetoast with that approach, I'm going to be honest, because I'm very stoked for the game when it comes to its era it's focusing on. I love the themes, the settings. You know, Spiders always picks the really interesting stuff and creates unique universes, but I don't like the approach to the combat system as much, because while the combat looks much better than any previous Spiders games, enemies don't look spongy at all like we've seen in the Technomancer as well as Bound by Flame, but at the same time, I don't like when a combat system is so open and free form no matter what point you're at in the game. At least even in Skyrim, the skills would naturally turn into perks, and then you could really start to lock in what you're good at and what you're very good at. So it made sense just to go with what you're very good at. I know why we want to have some of the options open. Like I mentioned earlier, you want to be able to see what you like first before you're totally committed to a play style, but I just get a little worried seeing how open the skill tree can be. But this is one of those things that I just need to play the full game and start to learn pretty much what Greedfall is all about to solidify my opinion on. But right now I'm a little wary when it comes to combat in the terms of its mechanics and how the RPG systems fuel it. But that's where I'll leave it for today's discussion on Greedfall. I appreciate all of your support on this game. Thank you so much. I mean, it is insane. It's one of those games where you're just like, I think this looks cool. I'm going to talk about it. And to see you all resonate with that and respond in such a passionate way, it's awesome. It makes me so happy. So thank you guys a ton for supporting what we're doing here, just covering all RPGs, giving tons of RPGs love, and I will conclude it there. I'll catch you guys next time. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.